Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show. We've been spending a lot of time looking back on the 17th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, taking your phone calls where you were on that day. And we'll continue to do that throughout the show, including right now. Joining us on the phones, Congressman Jodey Arrington. Congressman, good morning. How are you?
Hey, Chad. I'm doing great, man. I'm back here in West Texas. I'm at the sale barn outside of Abilene, so I'm with a bunch of ag guys. But I just wanted to call in and say that, like every American, that was a defining moment for me working in the White House with President Bush. And I feel very blessed to have been a part of it in the sense that, I too had mixed emotions. I mean, I was sad. I was shocked. I was angry. And then I saw our president with great resolve and determination take the fight to the enemy. And I think America has always, in every era, in every season, in the life of this country, there's been evil that we've had to confront. And you can't negotiate with some countries and some people. And I love that statement that evil prospers when good men do nothing. And our President Bush then stood up and was vigilant. This president has basically annihilated ISIS because of that same mentality. And I'm just proud to be an American, and I'm grateful also for the unity of that day. It's sad that we have to have a tragedy that sort of reminds us that we're Americans first, like John McCain said, and that we've got more in common than different. And there's always going to be countries and people that hate us and want to kill us and destroy us because they hate our culture, they hate our freedom and our American ideals. And listen, we can never apologize for that. We believe it, we fight for it, and we fight for those who believe it and who stand firm on freedom and democracy around the world. That's what we do because we're Americans.
Yeah, absolutely. And Congressman, earlier I was discussing an article from Roll Call that a really good article and kind of a peek behind the scenes. Obviously, you were there. You were at the White House. Kind of give us your perspective. When you were there, what happened that day?
Well, it was a normal day in the sense that I was interviewing people for jobs that the president would appoint folks to in the administration, and I'd meet with him once a week and make these recommendations. I had a person from Pennsylvania I was interviewing, and then the first plane hit the tower, and then the second plane, and before I knew it, people were screaming and saying, "Get out! There's a plane coming for the White House." And, I grabbed as many folks from my office as I could, and certainly the gentleman who was down for the interview. And as you were running out, literally people were screaming and women with their shoes off running. And I happened to park real close to the White House so I could get everybody in the car. And but the jets were scrambling above. Smoke was coming up from the Pentagon. It just felt like we were under siege. It was a really surreal feeling and experience. And then, of course, everything changed, for our country from that point on.
And how long? Kind of looking back at it now, I'm sure that day it seemed like it was a long time. I'm thinking about it now, going, it seemed like it was a long time, but it was, when the planes hit the towers and when the planes hit plane hit the Pentagon and crashed outside of Pennsylvania. When did y'all know this is an attack? We got to get out of here.
Well, I thought surely, we are in the most secure building in the free world, but it turns out that they needed to make some major security improvements because it was really folks just coming and grabbing colleagues and by word of mouth. So that's not the best commentary on the security at the time in the White House, but they were just a series of things that happened within minutes intervals, and it seemed longer at the time, but when I look back at the time frame, it was just minutes. And Thank God for those heroes on the flight. United 93, that decided that their fate was inevitable, but they were not going to let another terrorist attack hit our homeland and kill our citizens.
Yeah, absolutely, and just an astonishing day, and one that I think you would agree. It's good to remember. It's good to talk about this and remember what happened on that day.
It is, and Ted, let me say this: one of the experiences I'll never forget in the aftermath was in the hallway. A bunch of us lined the portico between the east and west wing, and the president was meeting with the families of the Flight 93 of the victims. And man, he came out of the Oval Office, and he'd been crying with them. He'd been praying with them. And we didn't know what to say. We just started clapping and hugging them as they walked through. I will never forget that. I'll never forget the compassion by all Americans and the resolve of our president and the unity that we had as Americans. And like you said, it was a disaster of epic proportion for us as Americans. It was our generation's sort of Pearl Harbor. But at the same time, there was great heroism, and there's a lot to reflect on that I think is good for us as a nation to never forget. So thanks for letting me share my thoughts with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's Congressman Jodey Arrington.